to spending quality time with your girl, Eposi Ziton. This is Heart to Heart with Eposi Ziton. Let's talk about it. Well, today I'm going to be talking about something that is very crucial, which is grief and loss. Well, when we talk about grief, it's a deep sorrow that is due to the change of a normal status quo. So whenever you're going through such a devastating change, like what the world is going through now with the COVID, you go through a period of just grief and anger. And when we talk about grief, we have different phases of grief. And for those phases of grief, we all are aware of because people go through the period of denial, period of anger, bargain, acceptance, and what have you. I've just said it randomly. So for those who want to find out more, you can Google and find out the different stages of grief and how you can deal with them. But like I said, people go through a lot of emotions. The biggest one for me is depression, because people get so depressed and so rock bottom to the part where they just don't even want to exist. They don't want to live anymore. So that's more concerning to me. But this particular show today, my shows that I talk about, Heart to Heart with Eposi Ziton, is very debatable. So today, my question is it okay for you to just undermine the loss of a child because it was due to a miscarriage or it was stillbirth? Do you have to undermine that? How do we support those who are grieving through periods like that? Well, I know a lot of people who say that when a child was never known, that's something that people should just put in the past. And people handle that as a taboo topic. So today, I read a book that really touched my heart. I don't call people's names on my shows for personal reasons, but for that reason, I'm not going to call the author to this book, but I'm going to talk a little bit about the book, which is called From Grief to Grit. It's a book that I would love everybody to watch or to read. I talked about watch because I would love a movie to be made on that book. But I'm going to love everybody to read, because when the author sent this book to me, I kind of glanced through it and I kept it that I was going to read it at a random time. But something pushed me to read this book. And when I opened it, I couldn't stop. I used less than 9 hours to read this book because it was that touching. And I could have used less time, but at the end of the book, you have poems that she wrote as a result of the loss. So it made me have to take my time to read these poems, to understand them deeply. Well, like I said, this particular show, Heart to Heart with Eposi Ziton, my topics are debatable. So this is my point when it comes to how people should grieve or support those who have lost as a result of miscarriages or stillbirth. Well, I know a little bit about what a miscarriage is, but mine was very, very early on. So I may have grieved without even knowing. I know I had a few sad days, a few moments that I didn't feel like I was myself, but I think I got past it real quick. But for those who have had miscarriages where the pregnancy went on for weeks and months, that's somebody that you have already connected with. They are in you. You have had some kind of a connection, a reaction with them. Because at that age, maybe the child was kicking in your stomach, maybe you were rubbing your stomach and talking to the child. So you have formed a connection. Some people even give names to their babies very early, even before their conception. So maybe that's a child you have already named. So all of that is a connection. And for you to just walk past that connection like it never occurred, like it never happened, well, people handle things differently. For me, like I say, mine was just a couple of weeks. It was nothing that had even gotten to the point of a sonogram, so I didn't really take it hard. But when I read this book, I realized that we should not undermine people's journey because people grieve differently. And I realized that when somebody has a loss, like a loss of a child, it's only them who had that loss understand that loss and know how to get past that loss. So we as human beings or people around them should just talk to them therapeutically. Don't judge them. Don't question the reason why they are grieving the way they are doing, because grieving is okay. People don't have to take permission to grieve because it's a process of healing. It's a way of getting past what they are going through or going forward. So for me, my stand on that particular question, should we allow people to grieve or should we ignore or be not supportive when people are grieving for a child that was a stillbirth or a miscarriage, I'm going to sit here today and say that people should grieve. A loss is a loss. It don't matter if it's a day, a second, a month, a year, 100 years. A loss is a loss. And for those who have lost, they have a connection with the person that died. So we should give them the okay for them to grieve. And we should not be insensitive when we're talking to them about their loss or when we're having conversations in terms of helping them to move on. We should be very careful of the words that we use and the phrases that we use, because people sometimes say things without intending to hurt anybody, but it might be very insensitive depending on the way you say it. So today this was Heart to Heart with Eposi Ziton. I want to thank the author of the book Grief to Grit, because I've learned a lot and I want to share this book with everybody that I know. And I'm going to hope that I'll have an opportunity to talk with this author so we can see ways that we can put this book out there so everybody can be able to have that opportunity to read and understand her message. It was a wonderful experience, and I'm not undermining that because it taught me a lot. I've had other losses in my life that this book, even though it was talking about death and loss of a child, but it also helped me a lot because I could see things that have undermined my journey of grieving. I've blocked it, I've acted like I wasn't grieving, but after reading this book, I realized that there have been times when I'm grieving without even knowing. So thank you once more, the author of this book, and I'm going to revisit this book information in a later time. We're going to talk about it. Like I always say, let's talk about it. We're going to talk about it in more depth because everybody needs to hear about that. Grieving is a universal thing. So we all should learn the various ways and skills that we can use to get past or move forward when it comes to a loss. It's always lovely spending quality time with you all. And bye for now.